The wave of tech layoffs continues into mid-year 2024. According to an article by TechCrunch, with data gathered from layoff.fyi, this year has already seen a staggering 60,000 job cuts across 254 companies. Furthermore, the impact of these layoffs is broader than that of just smaller companies. Even industry giants like Microsoft, Google, Tesla, TikTok, Indeed have been forced to downsize significant parts of their workforce. But the question comes up, why is this happening? I'd say that it's a perfect storm of causes that are responsible for all of these layoffs. Situations like withdrawals from money printing and unfavorable tax conditions for startups are at the root of the problem. Let's look at the money printing issue that began, it has quite a bit of a history, but it really got exacerbated during the time of the pandemic. For example, in 2021, the inflation rate was 7%, the highest in 40 years. Moreover, the interest rate for borrowing in the United States during the same time period was effectively zero. This scenario, to put it in simple terms, means that a lot of money was being created out of thin air. Hey, did someone say stimmy checks? You get a check, you get a check, you get a check, you get a check. All this newly created money created fake demand. I call this demand fake because businesses and people have more money. However, no productivity or skill set was acquired to justify the gain in capital. Accordingly, everything hits the fan when businesses, many of whom employ developers and tech professionals, begin to hire and purchase resources, often with borrowed money, to meet this wave of fake demand. Only to realize that once the wave is over, usually as cheap money stops becoming readily available, that the demand from their consumers wasn't sustainable. Therefore, at this point, they are left with a lot of extra resources and employees, sometimes developers or tech professionals that they don't need, but they're responsible for paying out. At that point, the business is forced to either lay off or cut out the resources or employees that they can no longer afford. Now, does that sound like the classic definition of a rug pull? I'll let you decide. Moreover, a major silent blow has been struck against startups in the United States. Now that IRS Section 174 limits the amount a startup can deduct from its expenses like paying software developers from its tax bill every year. In other words, the IRS can tax more of the total money generated from a startup, which can be a massive issue if said startup pays expensive developers to bootstrap an application that's not making enough revenue to cover the big tax bill at the end of the year. If that all sounded confusing, a simple way to look at the matter is that the tax environment as it currently exists unincentivizes job-creating startups from starting or growing in the United States, meaning less work for developers. I also wanted to touch on generative artificial intelligence here just for a little bit. Despite its initial hype, it has yet to be directly responsible for massive job loss in the tech industry. I'd argue that the lack of job elimination due to AI is because the technology still needs to have more valuable implementations of it. Right now, I'd say that the technology is still at what I like to call the party trick phase. Accordingly, many companies spend a lot of money on AI. Most of it is funneled to NVIDIA, yet they are still waiting to see an actual return on their investment. Chamath Palihapitiya hits this point on the ballpark in the following statement from the All In podcast. You cannot spend this kind of money, referring to AI spend, and show no incremental revenue potential. The chicken is coming home to roost. Where are all these fangled things we're supposed to see that justified $100 billion of chip spend, $200 billion of energy spend? This is on the order of a national transfer payment, referring to NVIDIA, with nothing to show for it except that you can mimic somebody's voice. In short, the current difficulty in the tech job market is not directly due to AI. So, now that you've been slapped with a dose of reality, what do you need to get hired? Sadly, there's no magic bullet, especially when So much of what's needed to get hired is outside of your control. However, the truth that you could take with you is that you can't only partially try to get a job in this market. You have to be all in. You have to be able to provide your best work, and perhaps most importantly, figure out how to stand out from a field of competitors in a good way. This could be with an unforgettable portfolio, a unique set of projects. You could have a direct connection to a company, know an inside guy, or have a green squared out GitHub. Every little detail matters. You may be the highest search ranked profile for your profession on LinkedIn, or you may participate in a paid coding competition for a company and win it. But the days of just adding a botchy to-do list on your portfolio from a tutorial on YouTube, I would say, are safely over. It's just not going to cut it. Simply put, do what it takes, and may God bless you with the success that you desire. If you'd like more hands-on help, make sure to sign up for a consultation with yours truly down in the link below. Thank you, and until next time.